All right, well, thanks everyone for your patience. We'll kind of get started here. Again, hello, my name is Ryan. I am a channel account specialist here at Ingram Micro, focusing on the Citrix service provider side of things. Here at Ingram, we distribute technology from a multitude of vendors, and since I started, I've noticed a growing percentage of partners interested to explore how enterprise-class unified IT performance analytics and business services management solutions can help complement their business. Centerity is a vendor that came up time and time again, and I wanted to organize the webinar to present and demo Centerity with all of you today, so thank you all for joining. On the line here, where I will be actually handing it off to, is John Snow. He's going to take care of the Centerity presentation, and then John Speck as well, who is with Centerity, will actually perform a demo, so you can take a look at that too. So we'll have some questions and answers at the end, and with that, I will like to turn it over to John Snow, who's an executive with Centerity, to start things off. So take it away.
Thank you, Ryan. The topic of today's conversation is called hide and seek, how false alarms kill your service level agreements. And we'll be going through in about 20 minutes some scenarios as to the impact of what we call, in a technical way of describing it, false positives. These are alarms or alerts that are valid, but don't really impact your overall performance levels or your service levels of what you are providing as a managed service provider. So we'll start walking through the scenarios, but let me just give you a real brief one-slide explanation of who Centerity is. We focus in the area of what's called business service management. Moving forward, I'll refer to this as BSM. So we provide business service management software that improves your service levels and your customer satisfaction quickly, reliably, and economically. We have some world-class customers. We've got world-class partners, and we've even earned a couple cool awards. But the bottom line, what we do is we take a system-level approach for improving your performance of MSPs, performance of data centers. All right, so what's the problem that we're looking at? The problem is, quite frankly, that your sysadmins within the data center or within the MSP are simply getting too many warnings and too many alerts. If you look at the information technology, there's an awful lot out there, and each of these environments that I have up on the screen is complex enough to have a full-time staff member looking at it, depending upon the size of your MSP. So what happens is, each of these environments being complex enough gets an awful lot of alarms. And someone has to weed through which ones are important and which ones are unimportant to the overall service level. But it gets a little bit worse, because when you look at all of the environments, you are finding your system administrators absolutely buried in critical warnings and alerts. In fact, one of the MSPs that we talked to, one of the managers said, I get over 400 alerts myself, not to mention what my sysadmins get every single day, and only 5 of them matter. So if you have a way of getting me down to the 5 that matter, so I don't have to bother with the other 395, that would be wonderful. Well, the fact of the matter is, the problem is even more complex, because operations technology gets just as many warnings and alerts. And what happens to an awful lot of these? They simply go into a folder, which then somehow disappears, because so many of those alarms and alerts are simply nuisance alerts. So what we find one of the problems that our customers are facing is that they are getting thousands of alerts every day, some of them tens of thousands. And the question is, which ones are actually affecting their business? So where is all of this information coming from? The problem is really around incompatible measurement. Each organization, each business process, and every system gets monitored differently. And because of that, it actually impairs enterprise oversight. It actually gets in the way of or hinders your ability to look at all of the systems as one one continuous ecosystem and manage it for maximum performance and maximum customer satisfaction. So whether it be business processes like finance and logistics, whether it be technology like virtualization and servers and security, whether it be the deployment model, a multi-tenant or co-location or cloud, all of these are generating an awful lot of information that someone has to go in and look at and process. And a lot of that information isn't relevant to the overall performance level. It may be very important to managing a device down at the details, but from a high-level view, you only typically need 15 to 20 key performance indicators or metrics or whatever you want to call them in order to maximize performance. Now, the other 100 metrics that you could be looking at are very important for troubleshooting, for getting down into root cause analysis, but they're not important for high-level performance management. So what we find is that good business decisions that maximize your SLA and maximize your customer satisfaction require all of this data to be in the proper context so that people can make good business decisions. Well, what are the implications of having unpredictable performance? All companies are run on three basic KPIs, for lack of a better word. One is time, one is cost, one is quality. Those are the three buttons that you have to push on that are going to optimize how your company is performing. So if we're looking at the intersection of time and cost, where we see those two things intersecting is where your SLA penalties fall. When we look at cost and quality, that's where your no trouble found or false alarms or false positive falls in. And at the intersection of time and quality, you've got downtime, mean time to repair, things of that nature. They're all talking about the same thing, downtime or outages. Now, right in the middle is the sweet spot. To balance these three things, you need what we call business service management, or BSM. The art of BSM is to balance the performance implications, the revenue implications, and the reliability implications of every decision you make to maximize your overall business success. The metrics that we typically look at or suggest that people look at are 4. There are plenty of more. Every company may run differently, but we suggest that you look at 4. One is SLA. What kind of penalties are you incurring for lack of delivery against your SLA? The next one is NTF. That stands for no trouble found. How many false positives are you having? How many service tickets are being written that don't actually have a problem that impacts the overall performance? And the third one is MTTR, or mean time to restore. You could think of it as downtime. MTTR is something that virtually any company, any software company certainly, in aftermarket service and support is going to claim to optimize, and we're no different. But what I would say is that maximizing or optimizing MTTR is very difficult because it goes from everything from the actual troubleshooting and fault isolation all the way down to, are the parts available? So supply chain management. It goes down to, do you have personnel available? That's field service management. So all of these different components come into MTTR. So while we will use the MTTR acronym, the piece that we really optimize is the mean time to diagnose, the mean time to actually figure out what's wrong. After that, it's someone else's job to go fix it. All of this builds up to number 4, arguably the most important business metric, which is customer satisfaction. Because if you have high CSAT numbers, you're going to have predictable revenue, day in, day out, year in, year out. But CSAT is a trailing indicator. So that is the result of optimizing SLA, NTF, and MTTR. Now, what's the impact of not getting this right? You've got wasted time, higher costs, and lower quality. So the goal or the purpose of a BSM tool like Centerity is to deliver high performance within the time, cost, and quality goals of your organization. So what are the traditional remedies for addressing this challenge? Well, each of the layers, you see the layers coming up like puzzle pieces on the screen. Each of these layers, as I said before, uses different metrics, and they're not well integrated. So what happens is companies are using the tools that either come with the device or the software that are designed for managing that device or that software application at a very deep level, or they might be purchasing a bespoke or custom-built solution to go in and manage that. So they're using existing tools, and they're trying to throw on some add-on modules, perhaps, to try and glue this puzzle together. Another approach would be custom or internal development by your own R&D organization or by a system integrator to try and glue all this together into one cohesive picture. The result of that might be something like a manager of managers result. But an awful lot of companies we've met actually simply throw up their hands and do nothing, and they live with it. This is a pain that is acute to them, but because they experience it day in and day out, they've actually become numb to that pain, and they now look at it as simply the cost of doing business within their managed service provider environment or within their data center. What they then do is they take each of these pieces and put it onto a single screen. And that feels like you're making progress because you've got all the different layers on one screen. But whenever you have an outage or whenever you have a performance degradation, it still takes a human being to look at all these different pieces and figure out how an alert within the compute layer is affecting an alarm within the storage layer and is reflected as a warning within your cloud environment. How do those pieces correlate? It takes expertise and an awful lot of experience to be able to piece that story together, which makes you have to rely on top-notch sysadmins. All right, you're preventing new sysadmins from being able to understand what's really going on in the system. So monitoring your IT layers really doesn't reveal the business risk or the business impact of decisions that are being made. So if we look at it graphically, within the traditional IT monitoring environment, you're constantly reacting to problems. Every day, alarms are going off, outages or SLAs are being violated, and people are scrambling. So what's happening? You get an alarm, and suddenly you have 4 different searches that are run on each of the different tech layers. Those searches reveal a few KPI results. And then they reveal a lot of KPI results. And then they reveal even more KPI results. So you have multiple tools inspecting thousands of warnings and alerts, all in the effort to try and find one defect. The result of this is false positives, frustration, and finger pointing going on a daily basis. All right, so that's the problem. Is there an alternate solution? We propose as Centerity a single platform that uses consolidated measurements. So we take the same puzzle pieces, the same technology layers, and we evaluate them against time, cost, and quality. And we extract only those metrics and KPIs that are relevant to overall performance. And then we organize them in a way that gives you a single gauge or a single dial that tells you about the health of your environment. So by evaluating metrics for enterprise performance and reliability, you can get a holistic view of what's really going on and what's impacting your business. Let's take a look at how that works. Now, instead of waiting for an alert or an alarm, you have a gauge that tells you that you're right on the edge of green and yellow, okay? Right on the edge of normal operation and warning flags. We happen to be looking at an ERP environment here. Within this model, same tech layers, we now run a single search across all of those technology layers, which reveals a few different KPIs that are relevant. But now they're highly structured and organized in a way that is very easy to understand and digest. Now we take those alerts, and each of the KPIs gets a weight factor. So how important is this KPI to overall business performance or to the health of the layer? Here you can see an example where we put in some weighting factors. We look at KPIs are telling us, and we come up with the fact that the compute layer, or the server layer, is sitting at 67% health. Well, we do that for all of the layers, which get another weighting factor to roll all the way up to your overall health of your ERP business process. And we do the same thing for your CRM, for your supply chain management, or in the case of a managed service provider, instead of these being business processes, these could be individual customers. So you might have customer A, customer B, customer C, instead of having business processes. But either way, you are getting a view of how your customer, whether it's an organization, a business process, or an actual third-party customer, how are they responding, and how is their environment performing for what they're actually paying for and looking for. The result of this now is a single tool that isolates a few defects, and it does that to accelerate your troubleshooting and to help perform preventive service. So what Centerity's approach is all about is recognizing and diagnosing defects before they actually hit your SLA and CSAT numbers. Let's take a different look at how this works. If we just look at an IT or OT, that's operational technology environment, we can sort of map out what I call defect awareness. So at the bottom, you've got the service level. On the left, everything is green, right? That's normal operation. On the right, you've got an outage. Nothing's working. It's all broken down. In between, you've got a phase where you're going through some reduced performance, and then performance gets low enough that it starts kicking off performance alerts. Okay? These are the sort of phases that performance degradation goes through. Now, as you move to the right, your ability to understand exactly what the defect is, to isolate that fault or isolate that defect, is getting more and more accurate until naturally when you get to an outage, you know exactly what broke. So how does Centerity play in this environment? Well, most companies are still doing a big scramble whenever there's an outage or an SLA violation, and people are trying to figure out what's gone wrong. How does Centerity help your outage environment? Well, we see that you're in an outage, and because we're only looking at a few of the performance metrics versus the tens of thousands that may be relevant to a single customer, and when I say few, by the way, I should couch that. That could be hundreds of different metrics, or maybe even thousands, but it's not all of them that are available that your current tools are managing. But the way that we're going about it is we're able to give you very targeted repairs, targeted troubleshooting, because we're going to steer you to the actual KPIs that are affecting business service in the terms of SLA and CSAT. Okay, so once you've got that under control, and now your sysadmins aren't running around like chickens with their heads cut off every time an alarm goes off, you can actually take a breath and think about, how can I make my overall organization work better instead of always in a reactive mode? And now with Centerity's BSM, when you get into the yellow range, you can again use the same exact process using targeted troubleshooting in order to do preventive service. And now you're able to start eliminating some of those outages and improve your CSAT and improve your service levels. Once you've got that under control, you can start to look at trends. All of this is available within Centerity's BSM tool, but you can start to do some trend analysis and understand the correlations between the various alarms and alerts that are coming in, so that you can eliminate more of those false alarms. You can start to tailor some of the thresholds of various alarms so you're not getting as many. But this is a stepwise function. You're starting with an outage and you're working your way back into a more and more productive user environment or data center or MSP. And the final step that we all hear so much about is machine learning. Now, I have quite a bit of experience actually in the machine learning and AI space. And I would tell you that if you are just diving into machine learning without having mastered targeted repairs, preventive service, and trend analysis before you get to machine learning, you won't know whether machine learning is giving you good data or bad, good responses or bad. And so it's critical that your organization go through this stepwise function before they dive into big data and machine learning. Once you've mastered those, then you'll be able to accurately assess how well machine learning is helping you. Because machine learning can give you false correlations as easily as good ones, which then results in lots of wasted money. So that's how BSM actually works in action. So within that, let's step back and look at what Centerity actually covers. We talk about this as true BSM. So first of all, we've got full stack technology analytics across all of the technology layers. I list a bunch here, but I leave a dotted circle because it's whatever else you want to add in that might affect your service levels and CSAT. But what we're doing here is a service level roll-up by business process across all technology layers. It's also true BSM for hybrid environments, whether it be remote sites, cloud, co-location, on-prem, SaaS. It's service level roll-up across all deployment models. But it goes farther than that. You've got true BSM for scalable multi-tenant environments. Regardless of how many customers you have, you can treat each of them as a separate organization, as they are, and monitor them separately based on their unique SLA requirements. So you've got service level roll-up across all organizations. The result of all this is a true BSM dashboard where you're viewing the enterprise metrics through the lens of the business implication. So you're going from IT and OT over into business, where now you've got all these dials coming in, and each one represents a business service, a business process, or a customer, or an organization. And here I happen to have business processes, so whether it be supply chain management under logistics, or whether it be manufacturing execution systems under production, you have the ability to monitor that and know what the impact is on your business. And we can link all of that into your ticketing tools, your big data tools, your other deeper dive analytics tools. But what we've done here is we've replaced silo monitoring with service level management. So John Speck is going to be going through a demo in a second, but I want to just give you sort of a preview of what you'll see in that so that it's not the first time you've seen it. I want to show you a few of the screens so that this will make more sense. So here we have the ability to do what we call drill down fault isolation into, at this point, the layer or business service. So it gives you visibility into every layer beneath that dial. You can drill down into, within a layer, into the actual metrics or KPIs. In this case, we're showing the Citrix Zen desktop layer. You can drill down into the KPIs for your MySQL database. Any of these dials you can click on and drill into and start to find out what metrics are affecting overall performance. Here we're showing the overall business service events through an events console. Here we're showing advanced visualization tools that allow you to better understand how all the metrics are lining up and what they're related to. A little bit faster navigation in some cases to get to the relevant metric. And we can even go the route of giving you visual guidance as to where you should look on the actual hardware for where the problem is. Here you're seeing our Lenovo, Citrix, and Nutanix integration, where we've got a visual map here where various warnings and alerts are coming up, and they're steering you toward the actual components that need to go be inspected. So in summary, Centerity Business Service Management is all about unified IT and operations performance analytics. It goes across all of your various layers, looking at all of the various metrics and KPIs to roll it up into one BSM dial that gives you real-time SLA views for your business services. It helps you analyze the performance of any IT or OT layer, and it gives you advanced reports for predictive and trend analysis. ultimately which improves your CSAT. And on the left are the various integrations to various levels. So it is a single pane of glass for end-to-end BSM. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to John Speck to walk you through the demo. And for my part, I'd just like to thank you for your attention, and I hope that the actual demonstration proves incredibly valuable to you. John?
All right. Thank you very much, John. Hello, everyone. That was a great presentation from John. Just before I hop into the demo, I just wanted to stop and see if anyone has any questions. Again, you can put them in the chat box, and we will be responding. So I'm going to quickly take you through the platform. Now, this is not designed to give you an overall walkthrough of the solution, just to give you a sort of a follow-on to what John showed you, and kind of show you how we can use business service management to really to help you get to alerts and get to the heart of issues faster. All right, so I'm going to start just by showing you the business services dashboard. So when we are talking about all those dials that you saw on the presentation, again, they can be representing anything from a technology environment, from a business process, to an actual customer. So I am going to drill into customer D. Again, this is in the scenario of a managed service provider who wants to see, okay, where am I at in terms of the overall health of this one customer? Now, you can see from the start, we're at 83% health, which puts us in warning. We're not at critical yet, but we want to be able to get to the issues that are most affecting the health of this customer. So, as John was pointing out, you have an overall view to every technology layer here. In this case, this is XenDesktop running on Nutanix, a Nutanix Acropolis on top of Lenovo hardware. Now, you don't want to have to be running around trying to find which layer or where every metric is, and so in this case, you want to be able to focus on what's giving you the biggest problems. So you could look at each of these. So the Citrix layer has some critical alerts on it. So does the network layer. But obviously, it's the MySQL or MySQL level that is probably affecting your service performance overall the most. So you can get down immediately into that layer. You can see that that this one alert is most critically affecting. So you don't have to chase around. You can just get to that specific alert right away. Now, you can see all of the events that are occurring. You can create these visual maps. Again, this is just another way of sort of visualizing the environment that much more intuitively. Or the hypermap. I love this feature because it kind of, first of all, you can open up this tree graph and it just looks fantastic, but it also allows you to see where, just like before, where there are critical alerts on each layer, but you can get right here to the heart of it and then see the metrics that most affecting your service level. You can also see graphs for any metrics that are being collected in the system. So you can look at these over one by one. You can look at them over long periods of time. You can get pretty granular with this. So you can see, in this case, we're looking at CPU usage and see all the heaps of usage over time. And then again, you can get into this. You can look at this on a daily basis, weekly, all through through annual, to be able to do more sort of trend analysis. Now, I am going to take you through just a couple reports that I think really are also essential to this trying to get to the heart of issues and basically have you spend as little time as possible actually looking for where issues are originating. So I'm going to take you through this business services or this usage summary report. All right, so what this is going to do is kind of like what John was talking about, limiting the finger pointing. We want to be able to see at a very high level how this customer has been trending, in this case, over the last 31 days. So you can see it broken down into each component layer, each technology layer rather, and so that you don't have the different groups within an organization kind of, pointing your network people pointing to your hardware people and vice versa. This kind of gets to the heart of the issue right away. So over the past 31 days, this customer has been trending at 85% availability, actually 85.43%. Availability. Now you can see that broken up into the individual days. And then this is probably more important, is being able to see it broken up into the individual technology layers. So you can see that, yes, there's a blip in the network right about here, but that you've got consistent issues in the MySQL database over this whole period. So this is where you really want to be looking when you're trying to decide what's been bringing this down on a consistent basis. You can see that broken up into the individual days here and per level. And you can see this represented in a stat graph here as well. So again, this is just about being able to limit that finger pointing between the different business units. Now, I'm going to take you through another one here. So this is SLA report. And we'll use the same customer here. Let's look over just the past 7 days. All right. So what's nice about this report, it's going to show you kind of along the same lines as the usage summary. But what's nice about this is that it's also a day-by-day breakdown. So it's really with the individual metrics. So you can actually see this as a history report as well. So this is showing you your health based on individual metrics. So in this case, over the past 7 days, 95% of the KPIs that have been coming in have been returning an okay or a healthy response. So you can see how the percentage of each level of metric or broken down. You can look at that per layer as you did before and see the individual metrics. But then also what's nice is that you can get into the beginning, and this is what John was talking about, sort of not so much mean time to repair as mean time to diagnose. So here you can see, all right, broken into each of the technologies, you can see the metric, but also the duration of that metric. So if you get into critical, you can see how long it actually took to isolate that issue and return an okay result. All right, so last up, I'm going to show you one more. All right. So in being able to show you issues over time, we're going to show you a trend report here. In this case, I want to look at the statistics on the SNMP interface for this specific firewall that was associated with that business service we've been showing you. And I'm just really interested in the discards and traffic in and out. By the way, I should say that all of these reports can be generated as PDFs or Excel files. They can be saved and sent automatically, automatically generated, and this gets to those separate user groups that are possible when you have a true multi-tenant platform, is that then you can have different business units or different customers in charge of specific, or customer groups in charge of specific business processes or customers. And that way you can have these specialized reports and specialized configurations sent to those relevant parties at specific times. So here we're just looking over the past. This is just a daily report, but we can get a bit granular into here and seeing the discards in for this interface. And then you can see the traffic in and out over a few different ports. Here you go as well. And then you can see at a kind of higher level the status or the usage over that same amount of time. All right. So again, this is not really designed to give you a full showcase of the platform. We wanted to get to the heart of the theme of this presentation, which is how false alerts or false alarms are killing your SLA. So I know we allotted 45 minutes overall. So I wonder if we have any questions, we'd love to take them.
Yeah, John, thanks a lot. This is Ryan here with Ingram. It looks like we have one question here, and I'll just kind of read it out loud here. Can this track the log on and log off of a user onto a system?
You know, I have to double check on that. I believe so, but whoever, let's see, put that in there, we will follow up with you after the webinar.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, just to be clear, this is a monitoring system. So although there is bleed over into security, it's not primarily a security platform. I just want to be clear about that.
Okay, sounds good, John. I don't see any other questions here, so I think we're good with that, but I do have a recording. Again, this is Ryan here with Ingram. I have some follow-up that I'd like to send to all the attendees, and please expect that shortly after the webinar. And I think we're all set, though. I appreciate the time, John Snow, John Speck. Thanks a lot, and we'll be in touch and do this again pretty soon.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a great day, guys. Thanks.